It's just a sex ring.
Secret tapes show Arven Shreeve's adoring disciples stripping in the name of God.
It's okay for us because we're doing it under the guidance of the Holy Spirit.
Now, for the first time, one cult member gives her exclusive view of what was happening behind the hedges.
I think of Arven's group and I think of Jonestown.
He's damaged their little delicate spirits. That's worse to me than mine.
The girls in Arven's garden. He's dashing, he's debonair, and he claims to have royal ties.
He told me that he was dating and engaged to marry one of the royal princesses.
But police say he's a dirty, rotten scoundrel who duped wealthy women by claiming to be a count.
When Margaret Thatcher was stepping down, he goes, "Oh, I must call Maggie."
Now these angry ladies are out for the count.
Everywhere.
A bombshell new twist in the Nymphomania scandal as self-confessed sex junkie Kathy Willets reveals the secret past that set her on the road to infamy.
Give me a half hour and everyone is totally naked.
Show and tell. Hello, everyone. I'm Maureen O'Boyle. Welcome to A Current Affair. Dozens of religious women thought they'd found God through a man named Arven Shreeve. But cops say that instead of preaching the gospel, he was throwing panty parties and teaching his disciples to strip. Now one cult member who broke away has come forward. Mike Watkiss has the exclusive story of the girls in Arven's garden.
In the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, a little slice of heaven appears to have tumbled down to earth. Picture-perfect postcards of middle-class Americana. Lawns like putting greens, gardens fragrant and blossoming. A suburban oasis of peace and tranquility. Yet in the fertile soil of this modern-day Garden of Eden, some say a weed has taken root, allegedly poisoning all who have tasted its fruit.
You want me to destroy that camera for you?
Not very much.
No. Then get it out of here.
We'd like to get it out of here. Can we talk to you about this?
I don't want my camera.
Hi. Can I ask you a couple of questions?
No,
please? Are you folks members of this society, the Zionist Society?
Well, I think it is some kind of a cult or some kind of a, you know, there's something going on.
There's a lot of people that have been hurt by it.
Nobody questioned it. Nobody dared. I didn't anyway. The girls that I was around a lot didn't.
It's just a sex ring.
He's taking their souls from them. He's taken their minds from them. And he has literally destroyed their lives.
For years, there have been suspicions and rumors about this too-good-to-be-true neighborhood on the outskirts of Ogden, Utah. Rumors swirling around this man, a grandfatherly 61-year-old landscaper named Arven Shreeve. As far back as 1984, a local newspaper was reporting that Shreeve, an excommunicated Mormon, was leading his own ultra-religious, alleged polygamist sect in the neighborhood, a sect known not only for its impressive gardens, but also for the passion and devotion of its many female followers.
I think of Arven's group and I think of Jonestown, when that one man had power enough to convince 400 people, men, women, and children, to kill themselves. And...
Did Arven Shreeve have that kind of power over this group?
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. He had so much power over these women that 2 women out there who were going through divorce left their husbands to join this group. And ironically, both women, their children were both, you know, they had children that were boys, no girls. And Arven made them give him up.
He didn't want boys there.
He does not want boys there, and they did.
23-year-old Kori Christofferson spent 14 months with the group after she and her daughter fled a failing marriage. Her story seems typical. She says she was vulnerable, and members of the group were anxious to help. In this first ever television interview, Kori also tells how that help led to her own personal journey through hell.
I belonged to one of 3 sister councils. I was part of the largest, Arven's. There's 28 women, girls, females in that council.
You say Arven's council. You mean these women were his responsibility?
Yes. He had free reign over them to do whatever he wanted.
What does that mean?
Sexually, psychologically, physically.
28 women?
Yes.
He had at his disposal?
Yes.
What is the age range of these 28 women?
The youngest one is 2 years old, and the oldest, I believe, is 59.
This 61-year-old gardener had free reign to do anything he wants, you say, over 28 women ranging in age from 59 to 2?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
They work where he wants them to work. They give him all of their money. They believe that everything he brings to them is straight from God. So you can imagine, once the mind's been twisted, you disobey something Arven says, then you've got these other sisters saying, you know, what's your problem? You just disobeyed God. You just disobeyed your master.
My family essentially was busted up by that group, by Arven.
7 years ago, Ron Van Drimmelen's first wife left him to join the group. Since then, Ron and his new wife, Sue, have fought bitterly to regain custody of the Van Drimmelen children.
He's damaged their little delicate spirits. That's worse to me than murder.
According to neighbors, members of this alleged polygamous cult are drawn tightly together, shunning the outside world, believing that people on the outside are obsessed with evil, wickedness, and the pursuit of sin. But all that seems rather ironic now as stories begin trickling out of the organization, stories that make the outside world look rather tame by comparison to the lifestyles conducted behind these well-trimmed facades. And this allegedly is a taste of what went on behind those closed doors. Members of this ultra-religious group manufacturing their own personal line of skimpy lingerie. According to reports, the merchandise was often targeted to local strippers, who in turn would offer their unique services to members of the group, all in the name of religion.
They asked this young lady to come out and strip, teach some of the girls.
The women in the group ask a stripper here in town to come to the...
Yes, in the sister council.
And do what?
And strip for them, show them her techniques. And at one point they even compared, now see, her moves are hard and harsh and she's looking for self-gratification. Now change that and so that you're gratifying your companion and your moves are soft and feminine. And then she actually stripped for Arven.
The stripper did?
Yes.
So the stripper was brought into the group and basically did a strip 101 class for you to teach you, the women in the group, how to strip?
Yes.
For Arven Shreeve?
Yes. And it's okay for us because we're doing it under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. So when it's under that kind of careful watch, that's okay. But it's bad for the outside world because they use it for their own pleasures. They use it for the purpose of evil. They don't use it as directed by the Spirit.
And things took an even stranger turn. For while the women were allegedly busy trying to gratify Arven Shreeve, Shreeve, according to Kori's deposition, was preaching that the women should find gratification among themselves, a kind of group sex that allegedly included everyone, even the children.
My daughter was abused out there.
She's 7 years old?
Yes, she is. I had no idea till we were gone. The children are separated from their parents because parents and children have a carnal tie, and a carnal tie will bring in the spirit of the adversary. And
the devil.
The devil.
Consenting adults want to live that, that's fine, that's their business, but I also felt like there was involvement with girls, with the little girls.
And fearing for their daughter's safety, the Van Drimmelens hired a pair of private investigators, the husband and wife team of Cheryl and Philip Naugle. Cheryl infiltrated the group and apparently confirmed the Van Drimmelen's suspicions with this photograph of their teenage daughter. The private investigator also shot this home video of the women modeling their lingerie.
It wasn't the fact that they were making lingerie that looked like Fredericks of Hollywood. The problem is children were involved.
I guess I was hoping that it wasn't true.
Why didn't you just walk away? We look at those homes, they have a front door. You're a smart, you're attractive young woman with a lot going for you. Why didn't you just grab your children and say, I'm getting the hell out of here?
there's a power that he has over those people, a loyalty. It's a mind manipulation, but it's a power, and I don't know how to explain it unless you were there to see it. It's unreal.
But finally, local police came to see Kori's story as very real. And early one morning, they raided the neighborhood, removing the children and looking for Arven Shreeve. But Shreeve may have been tipped and was nowhere to be found.
And he thought police were going to raid, and so every home was told to go through your files. Any pornography is to be burned, and they were just burning boxes of stuff.
But several days later, when Arven Shreeve turned himself in, police had enough evidence to charge him with multiple counts of child abuse. Shreeve refused to talk to a current affair, as did one of his sons. But this Shreeve associate did give us a piece of his mind.
If I trusted you as far as I could throw you, then I'd talk to you.
3 other female members of the group have now also been charged, while many others remain in the neighborhood, refusing to talk about their leader and keeping up appearances in the immaculate gardens of Arven Shreeve.
Arven Shreeve denies the charges of abuse pending against him and claims he was never a religious leader. Up next, a story we told you yesterday causes a stir all over America.
That was a sexy outfit.
That was a real sexy outfit.
Kathy Willets is accused of being a hooker, but she told us she's a nymphomaniac. Now the man prosecuting her pays attention to a current affair. And later,
Graham Lever is probably the smoothest con man, in my opinion, that I've ever met.
they're wealthy women on a rampage now that this con man count has ripped them off royally.
Many of you were shocked by the story we told you yesterday of Kathy Willets, the self-confessed nymphomaniac charged with prostitution. Now a courtroom bombshell as Kathy's lawyers change her plea. And she shows our Steve Dunleavy the tapes that tell the story.
They got, what, about 15 catamaranes to go around?
Mm-hmm. I make sure that everyone on board takes off their clothes.
Memories are made of this. A look back at a fun-filled vacation in the sun.
Nude? Well, topless, anyways, to begin with. From there, we went further. Oh, it was the greatest time.
It was the greatest time, but that was then, and this is now. And Kathy and Jeff Willets' sex-filled vacation seems a million years ago. Today, they are 24 hours from hell.
It's a very scary feeling.
Kathy goes to court tomorrow to plead guilty to being a hooker. She says she's taking a plea rather than face a trial. But as we told you yesterday, she still insists she's not a prostitute, just a nymphomaniac.
I need to have sex 7, 8 times a day.
Kathy says she took scores of lovers because her husband couldn't satisfy her insatiable sex drive. Jeff admits it, and also admits he hid in a closet and watched his wife's lovemaking.
I found myself enjoying watching my wife make love to other men.
Our show caused quite a storm, and not just in homes across America. Joel Lazarus, the man prosecuting Kathy and Jeff, sat up and took notice, too.
I'm your average, typical American housewife.
Lazarus would cross paths with Kathy and Jeff just a few weeks after they shot these steamy home movies. Now, exclusively on A Current Affair, the Willetses retrace their first steps on the road to infamy.
We made love everywhere. We made love around that island, in the jacuzzi, in the pool, on the beach.
On the beach numerous times.
Several times. The only place is not the hammock, and that I want to try.
If you can try with somebody else, but not me.
The sun wasn't all that was hot that day.
That last date, it was, you met, what, four very nice gentlemen. But the one from Tennessee was very nice.
Yeah. Had a great time.
And if you thought Jeff would be red-faced over yesterday's revelations, just listen to this.
We were at the jacuzzi when you left me, remember? To go get a couple drinks. I met that gentleman. There's a couple gentlemen that were really nice, really sweet, and were very affectionate towards me. And I was affectionate back, and one thing led to another, and I had the hotel key.
That's right.
You did not.
I didn't, no.
And,
I didn't need it, I didn't think.
No, I locked you out. And we went to the hotel, you know, room and enjoyed each other tremendously and had good sex.
But tomorrow in court, being locked out will be the least of Jeff's worries. You'll be more concerned about being locked up.
Sources tell us Kathy and Jeff have struck a deal with the prosecutor, but they could still face jail sentences. We'll keep you posted. Coming up next, the conning count causes a havoc in Hollywood.
He claimed to have royal ties, not to mention royal blood, and half of Hollywood fell in love.
I laughed when I heard he was arrested. It answered all my suspicions.
Now he's boasting from a jail cell.
He called himself a count, and he wooed wealthy women in Hollywood with a trumped-up resume and tales of royal friends. But it all turned out to be a royal masquerade. And John Johnson reports that a lot of Hollywood hotshots are now out for the count.
He was very well dressed, very well presentable, very charming.
He was very entertaining.
A knowledgeable person.
His name is Graham Lever, and he looks like a dapper English aristocrat. He spins colorful tales, painting himself as a big-time investor and tiger tamer who is related to Britain's royal family. He has sweet-talked his way into countless hearts and pocketbooks.
I would like to be allowed to use the talents that I've got and go on working with the people that like working with me, and to do what I do best.
And what he does best is behave as the perfect English gent. But cops say Graham Lever is a suave Casanova who has been causing havoc in Hollywood. He calls himself Count Guy de Montfort, a movie producer with a handful of projects in development. But the cops have a better name for him, Count Con.
Graham Lever is probably the smoothest con man, in my opinion, that I've ever met. He charms middle-aged to elderly women out of money.
Lever says it's all been a dreadful mistake, that he is not a dirty, rotten scoundrel who has fleeced women out of $500,000.
To quote Shakespeare, much ado about nothing.
That's not what Barbara Contratto says. She's a wealthy divorcee who welcomed Lever into her $2 million Malibu mansion overlooking the Pacific. She says he claimed to have powerful connections in London.
One time, when Margaret Thatcher was stepping down from, you know, Prime Minister, he goes, "Oh, I must call Maggie, or I must send her a telegram. Maggie, I think she'll be so upset." We always exchange birthday cards.
Mrs. Thatcher was kind enough to send me a birthday message for my birthday.
He told me about his connections to the royal family. In fact, at one point insisted that the reason he was convicted of theft charges in England and subsequently had to escape was that he had upset the royal family because he was dating and engaged to marry one of the royal princesses.
He said that he had escaped from a prison in England and that the royal family had arranged this escape.
Then Contratto discovered some of her jewelry was missing. At the same time, other women claimed they had been fleeced. Among them was Hollywood publicist Lisa Gordon.
I was shocked that he indeed was not who he says he was.
Police soon arrested Count Con for theft. Those charges were dropped, but he was rearrested for being an illegal alien. He is in a California jail awaiting deportation. He still claims his innocence, but immigration officials say it's just a matter of days before we have seen the last of Count Con.
We'll be right back. The murder-for-hire mystery that has shocked every parent in America.
Everyone is fighting to get her story first, but the pom-pom mom is telling all only to a current affair.
I will sit in.
She wanted her daughter to be a cheerleader so badly, she hired a hitman to murder the competition's mom.
I cannot stand the woman.
Now facing 15 years in prison, Wanda is telling all.
I made a mistake. I'm human. I'm not perfect.
Exclusive Wicked Wanda Talks.
That's Wednesday on A Current Affair. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you here tomorrow.